Hi everyone, my name is Rachel Stewart, and the disease that I chose for my poster is called amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, also known as ALS, or even more commonly known to some as Lou Gehrig's disease. So ALS is a fatal neurodegenerative disease that affects nerve cells in the brain and the spinal cord. So typically ALS, in 90% of ALS cases, there has been no family history or any type of presence of genetic mutations. However, in the other 5 to 10%, these ALS cases are known as familial ALS, and there is a 50% chance that each offspring will inherit the genetic mutation. So typically, individuals diagnosed with ALS are between 55 and 65 years old. That does not mean that people younger or older are safe from ALS. There have been cases like with Stephen Hawking, who we'll talk about soon, of people in their 20s that have been diagnosed with ALS. Incidents, 2 out of 100,000 people are diagnosed each year with ALS. Prevalence rates are 4 out of 100,000 are actually living with ALS. So those are pretty small numbers. The life expectancy of people with ALS is typically between 2 and 5 years. However, some people have lived longer or less time than that. There is absolutely no survival for any ALS patients. So ALS got its name from the Greek language. A means no. Myo refers to muscle. Trophic means nourishment. So amyotrophic means no muscle nourishment. And when a muscle has no nourishment, it atrophies or wastes away. And then lateral identifies the areas in a person's spinal cord where portions of the nerve cells signal and control the muscles where they are located. And usually as this area degenerates, it leads to scarring or hardening, which is where sclerosis comes from. So ALS, the motor neurons in the spinal cord and brain degenerate and they die. And to the right here, I've put in a picture of a healthy nerve cell and a dead nerve cell, so you can refer to that photo. So they stop sending messages to the muscles, and the brain will eventually lose the ability to initiate and control voluntary movements. So the first signs of ALS are typically muscle twitches, muscle cramps, stiff muscles, muscle weakness, slurred speech, and difficulty chewing or swallowing. And these symptoms are often mistaken for Parkinson's disease or for MS, multiple sclerosis. And so what I found interesting is, from doing this research, is there is no specific test just for ALS. So basically what doctors do is they run a bunch of blood tests and imaging tests to rule out other diseases or autoimmune diseases. And then basically once they rule everything out, then they're like, oh yeah, hey, we think you have ALS. But there's actually no specific test where they can just say, yeah, that's what you have. So the tests included are that they take lab tests of blood and urine samples. They may do a muscle or nerve biopsy, spinal tap, X-rays, MRIs, EMGs are some of the tests that they use. And ALS was, I'm sorry. Okay, so I got distracted. There is no current treatment to cure ALS, and ALS was actually discovered first by a French neurologist back in 1869. So ALS has been around for a while, but we still haven't figured out a cure. So typically those individuals with ALS will go through like physical therapy and occupational therapy, speech, respiratory, and nutritional therapies to manage, to help manage their symptoms. And they may do whirlpool therapy, heat and whirlpool therapy to try to relieve some of the muscle cramping. And then, exercise in moderation may help maintain some muscle strength and function. But, with ALS, everything is basically like, well, it may help. It might. We don't know. We still don't know. So there is a FDA-approved drug called Riluzole. I believe I pronounced that correctly. And it is said to prolong the survival of people with ALS. And when I looked up those numbers, by prolonged, it may prolong someone's life for 6 months to a year. So, that is not, they found something that they think might help, and they're doing further research to hopefully find another drug or figure out how to make this work. So Riluzole, basically, glutamate in individuals with ALS. Glutamate is a neurotransmitter that's required for nerve cells to communicate with each other. But when too much glutamate is released, the molecule can lead nerve cells to fire too much, eventually triggering a cascade of events that culminates in nerve cell death. So when one nerve cell dies from this excess activation, it releases glutamate into its surroundings, which can contribute the death of neighboring nerve cells in a continuous loop. So even though Riluzole's exact mechanism of action is not completely figured out, it is thought to help block glutamate from signaling in nerve cells, which would reduce the rate of glutamate-induced deterioration in nerve cells, and will hopefully slow down the progression of symptoms. Not to it's not, a cure or anything. So this disease has impacted me on a personal level because I worked for hospice for 6 years, and I had 3 patients that I helped care for with ALS, and it was probably the most disturbing of all illnesses and diseases that I had to witness. Partly because this disease just deteriorates an individual's body, but their mind is unaffected. And so, literally until someone's last breath, they still have their right mind. So they have mental clarity. Lou Gehrig, who I think most of us have heard of, he was a baseball player for the Yankees, and he's pictured in the black and white photo, and Stephen Hawking's pictured in the wheelchair up above. They both, I believe, have brought global awareness of ALS. Lou Gehrig, he was first diagnosed when he was only 36 years old, and he started having symptoms while practicing while playing on the field. So his symptoms included a loss of strength. He was slipping, falling, and he was having loss of coordination. So after he was diagnosed at 36, he decided to go ahead and retire from baseball. And he ended up passing away only a year and a half after his initial diagnosis. And then Stephen Hawking, he was only 21 years old when he was diagnosed with ALS. And he is a very rare ALS case because he ended up living for another 55 years with this incurable condition. So it's kind of a mystery of, to scientists and doctors as to how or why Stephen Hawking lived for 55 years with ALS. And of course they don't know. Everything is questioned with ALS. But basically they think that maybe because he was younger when he was diagnosed, that was part of the reason for him living a longer life. Also, he had 24/7 medical care, and they say that folks that receive really good medical care, their chances of living a longer life with ALS is more common. They have greater odds. So they also, I was also reading an article where he may have had a very rare type of ALS, but these are all just maybes. They're just guesses. So as far as the societal response, it's just ongoing research, and thanks to Lou Gehrig and Stephen Hawking's, they that really brought ALS into the spotlight. The research is continuous, and pharmaceutical companies are trying to find, drugs to prolong or to cure people with ALS. And so that is my hope, that one day there will be a cure. So in conclusion, ALS affects a relatively small group of people. There is also nobody knows, if, it's more common in certain environmental areas, or, all of that is still being studied, and, hopefully we'll have those answers one day. So it affects a small group of people. It is a neurodegenerative disease. It is fatal, and research is still ongoing.